So, have you lost your business mojo? I've been there too. Want to get it back? Find out how on today's Consulting Matters podcast. And welcome to the Consulting Matters podcast. This is the show for purpose driven consultants and coaches who are ready to own the power of what they do and position themselves for greater impact and income. I'm your host, Betsy Jordan, and I am an ex Disney consultant and successful consulting business owner turned business mentor and brand positioning and messaging strategist. You can find out how I help my clients take the best of their careers and turn it into thriving businesses that they absolutely love on my website at www.betsyjordan.com. Don't forget, Jordan is with a Y. So, what are we talking about today? It's all about that moment of what happens to many of us consultants and coaches who've been at it for a while is we've invested a lot of time, money, and we built a business that we once loved and all of a sudden we stopped. And it's just not working for us anymore. Maybe we have clients, but just they're not the right ones, or the work we're landing is no longer lighting us up. And you know what happens after that? Marketing becomes a dread. So, what do you do when this happens? When you still need your business to survive and thrive, what you do is you make a change. And that's exactly what happened to today's guest, Pamela Johnson. So, she is a client I have been working with for the last several months. And she was in that exact place where she had a business, it was successful, and then she just fell out of love with it, that she wanted to do something else. And so, what she didn't do is double down on what she was doing. She didn't work on some new marketing technique that all of a sudden was going to unleash the right clients. She got to work on rebuilding her foundation of her business, which is really getting more clarity on who she wanted to work with now versus what she did in the past. And so once she got that clarity, everything changed. So I could tell you all about her story because I spent several months working with her behind the scenes in my VIP brand messaging and positioning program. But you're going to enjoy it hearing it directly from her and her own experience. So, without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce you to Pamela. So, welcome to the show, Pamela.
I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate you inviting me, and I can't wait for this conversation.
Well, I can't wait for everybody to hear about your story because we've been working on your brand messaging now for I don't know how many months it's been. And I just have loved seeing, every week, you getting more clarity. But I want to help everybody who might have been at the starting point of where you're at to
Mm,
go from the lost mojo to the renewed passion. But before we get into what I would call like your lost mojo season, can we talk
mhm.
about like just your experience of going from a realtor to a trainer to a coach to a coaching business owner and like just big picture on that journey? Because I know there's a lot of people who are in those different stages where they have a job and then they kind of get into coaching and then they want to have their own business.
Right, right. Okay, well, in a nutshell, I was a trainer in corporate, for 2 different companies, and I loved it. And then I had my daughter and stayed home for a bit, and then when you come back from that, people think you've been struck dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but they do. And so
Like
I
the
mean, I've been
rapture.
working.
Now you're back.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, I couldn't find anything in training, and that was my love. I still love training, and it's part of my what I do, but, so I was looking around, I couldn't even get a temp job. I mean, like, it was a weird time. It was a weird time. Um So what I did was I thought, "Well, who will take me?" Real estate. I would try real estate. That sounds like fun. And so I went into real estate, and there were other reasons too. I mean, I do have a passion for homes, and I think it's like another part of your family, your home. So I did have a lot of passion and purpose in that. And I did that for a couple of few years. And because of my training, and every time I learned something, I would share it with in the brokerage, like, let's get together, and I want to share this with you. And so my training came out. So then I became a team leader, and that brought me into more coaching. I miss working with people one on one. So then left that, but stayed in the same brokerage and went back into real estate. And I had a few people in my brokerage that said, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, "Well, I still wanna work with people, and help them in their businesses. I want to also help people buy homes." So anyway, then a very important person to me in my brokerage, and there were a lot of them, um, said to me, "Why won't you be a coach? Just go be a coach." And I said, I don't even know how that looks. Like, how do I do that?" And so, this is the most kismet thing. Couple of days later, through some other people, a person I never met called and said, "We're interested in you as a coach for real estate agents, and this is how it would work." And was the largest company for, real estate coaching. And so I thought, "Well," now that was a I mean, that wa I have to pursue that. So that ended up going to California, and, you have to it's almost an audition. There a lot of people come, and then they choose who they would like to, hire, and that's what how it happened. So I was a subcontractor coach within a large company. I traveled a lot because there's a lot of training, traveling to meet your clients, that type of thing. And, it was good for a lot of time, but, there was a point of burnout within that, not coaching, but burnout with working as a subcontractor.
It's so interesting. What I love about your journey into coaching is it just feels like it was a natural fit. Like you had this background in developing people. Like I think developing is the word that cuts across like training and coaching, where it's like basically the same. It's like I like to impart knowledge, skills, perspective in somebody else, and training is with a larger group of people. Coaching is more one on one, and it just seems like that's like a hand in glove fit. It's like some like, I think some people, like, wonder, like, "Oh, do you pursue a job in consulting or coaching?" And it's like, no, I think, like, the coaching and consulting calling pursues us, you know? And then we just respond. So you responded to it, and then it just seems like the universe sort of conspired to say, "Alright, well, here's this amazing opportunity for you to go be a coach full time." And now you're coaching real estate professionals. So are we up to speed on what you might call your lost mojo season? Like, so it seems like you still love coaching, but you didn't love the context that you were doing coaching. So tell me a little bit more about like your lost mojo season and what was going on with you. Like, what were the problems that you were like, how did this show up for you that it was clear to you, like, I just don't think that I'm doing the right business model, or this is not the right packaging of how I wanna do? Like, what were those signs? Because I know for a lot of people, like, I lost my mojo, but it's like, what does this look like? Can you, like, give the indicators that would say, "Yeah, I've lost my mojo?"
There's 2 that were glaring, and one I was kind of ignoring, and then I realized what it was. So, one was that I was working again under a certain umbrella, and I was losing my voice because I was told how I should coach just to such a degree, and of course, they have the right to do that, um, that I couldn't really bring what I really authentically felt I should bring to clients. So that was a lot. And I had a lot of clients, dozens of clients at the same time, and that was, wearing me out, and actually I was becoming sick. I was exhausted, I had no life after I hung up the last call. By the way, this was part of this was when Zoom wasn't there. Um, and then we went to Zoom, but I was very sick, and I didn't I you you're kind of, like, pushing it away, "No, I'm just tired right now," etcetera, and so I know what was happening, finally, and I thought, "I cannot do it like this anymore. I have to have more control over what I do," and I went out on my own, still with real estate agents, but it felt so much more purposeful. I had my voice back, all of that. So that was great. But when now so that's one of the losing my mojo.
Wait, hold
Yeah,
on. I wanna tap into this one before you
yeah,
move on because it sounds like you had 2 lost mojo
yeah,
seasons. So one was the season of, like, I would call that, like, the subcontractor
yep,
trap.
yes,
Where you are coming under somebody else and you don't have that control over your career and your time and your money, and you're doing a lot of work, but, as a subcontractor, this is all makes sense why you have such a passion. We're gonna get to this later for everyone who is listening that one of our passion is for coaches who are stuck in the subcontractor trap. So, this seems like where that's where your passion a lot of your passion was built is, like, you felt that frustration very personally.
Yes, yes,
Did I hear
yes,
that accurately?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, that was a big one.
So then after that, then you moved into the second Lost Mojo time is the context that brought you and I together is different. It's like you had your own coaching business, you had your voice, you were still working with real estate professionals, but something wasn't working that got us to have our conversation. So what was not working for you in that particular context? And for the real estate professionals who are listening, I know you love them and it's not personal about what wasn't working, so let's just, like, put that out there is it's not really personal, but what wasn't working for you in that moment?
Well, there w I did that for 10 years. So, I was coaching real estate agents, well, for over 10 years if you include the, leadership. So it becomes there's nothing for me to learn at a certain point. I remember, one of my clients saying, "You're the encyclopedia of real estate." And there were changes, but I just needed, something new. It's really that's a harder one to define because I it was very hard leaving my real estate clients because I did love them, but both of us, them and myself, were probably feeling Groundhog Day. So that was happening. So, and in the meantime, I'm going into what kinda woke me up into what I'm doing now, if that's okay with you. Um,
Yeah, I would love to get the context because, like, we could talk all day long about, like, okay, how did we get into, like, fixing whatever your messaging issues are, and, like, that's interesting and all, but what's more interesting, I think, is really the journey from, like, not having the right mojo because maybe it wasn't 100% bang on, like, you sounds like you still wanted to be a business owner, and you wanted that to be successful, but the packaging of how you were doing it wasn't working anymore. And let's get that established so we could talk about, like, the process of, like, figuring out what it is that you really wanted to do. But, like, what was so it's like, what were the signs? Because I think a lot of people where it's like, "I don't understand why I don't love this anymore." Like, I know I hit that is, like, as a consultant, when I was pivoting from consulting to what I do now, like, that was so confusing because I had built this career, this network, I'd invested all this money, time, intellectual property, all my articles on my blog. It was like, "Why don't I love this anymore?" And I think I just wanna, I don't know, like, use your experience to connect with other people around, like, it's like, what is the not loving this anymore, what is that what are those positive signs for you? And, like, how did you take it as, like, you didn't double down, like, you reinvented yourself like, we did all of this work to reinvent yourself, so what was it about that moment that you could speak to people who, like, speak to from your experience to the people who might be at that same place, like, "I don't get it, I invest a lot of money, time, expertise, and why don't I love it anymore?"
right, so I started, paying attention to the messages that were coming to me, and one of them was that I really wanted to work specifically with women, specifically in a certain the midlife era for them, because I'm going through it, right? So, and I knew that we could talk about, how many listings you have all day long, but you might be dying inside because your energy's not there, because you're not being you're not don't have time to take care of yourself. And so that comes for a lot of, solopreneurs, right? So, womenpreneurs. So, I really just had an affection for them because I was on my own journey of feeling better, of feeling the purpose that I want to fulfill and really defining it. And you really helped me with that because if you remember at the beginning, it was not as specific. And you asked me, "So, who are the people that come to you and ask you for advice?" And I knew immediately other coaches, and I had been coaching some coaches, and I loved it. And we were in the same lane. We, had the same, struggles, and we have now a lot more answers to it. And so to have a thriving business and have a quality of life, is where I that's where I live in coaching. That's what I want to do to help other women because I there's always going to be struggles, but I am so much better than I was at that earlier time.
I think what I love about there's so many things I love about what you're talking about here. One is really the secret to sustainable success is you do need a business that grows with you. And it's like maybe back in the day, a younger version of Pamela was all into like, let's talk about real estate and listings and coach you on the business side. And then as you grew through your own midlife journey, you started being more interested in other conversations, and other people were more interested in those conversations as it relates to you. And your business, it sounds like your business wasn't keeping up with how you were
Right.
evolving.
Right. Yes. Yes, that would be true. And so my messaging was wrong. I was all word of mouth. There was a lot of there was just so much that I could do that I was realizing, especially I don't want to keep bringing this in, but especially listening to you and what could be. And so yeah, that just opened a whole new world and that's I mean, I, like, pivoted, and part of it was the idea and, I saw it even before you went on sabbatical. I, had a colleague who goes on sabbatical for 1 month every year, and she said she has had more business, more production than ever by doing that, by just getting out of it. She gets out of the country and enjoying her family and no phone, and guess what? She still has clients. They'll wait for her. They'll literally wait for her. So, that was a message, and then right after that, I saw, that you were going on sabbatical. I was just ready to, "Come on, Betsy, let's work together," and we'd never spoken, and I just waited till after your sabbatical.
I'm so appreciative you waited because my sabbatical was supposed to be 4 months and it turned out to be 7, and I can't believe you waited all 7 months for me, so thank you. That means so much to me. Uh, I think you're clarifying something for me because part of where I get really animated, like, I always get animated with my clients, like, on best practices for sure, like, things that I've learned I've been in business now for over 15 years, which is kinda crazy. Um but the thing I get most animated around is, like, the mistakes that I've made, and one of the things that is, like, becomes my hobby horse is, like, you have to b brand your business with your name. I'm like, anybody who works with me is like, "Do your name," because my fictitious names are really painful, and I think you're really clarifying why. I always say it's like you wanna have a container that, like, grows as you grow, but I think what you're really clarifying is in order to sustain a solopreneur consulting or coaching business where you are the product, you're in the brand, it has to grow with you, otherwise you're gonna get stuck. And I think it's really about it's like I'm visualizing is like you were growing, your messaging was here. So it's like, I want to be here, but my messaging is here. And it's like a little tether, like kind of hooked to the back of a car. And it's like, I want to move forward, but your messaging and everything was holding you back. And that's where it's like, I've got to get this fixed because I know my car wants to go faster, better in a different direction. But everything that I've done to date and how I'm setting it up it's that what got you here won't get you there, but it's like what got you here, and trust. It's like learning how to detach that. And I think that's a big part of the work that we did together was was letting that go. So let's get into but anyway, well, so I just find this fascinating that you waited for me on sabbatical. Is there other things that you tried in the interim? Like, cause I know a lot of people when they're in the in between time, like I think one people do when they're in the lost mojo phase is they double down on what they used to do, but thinking like somehow magically they're gonna love it again. What are other things that you might have tried to fix the lost mojo before we started working together?
Well, trying to I don't know, make, my mindset work with me to keep having the clients that I have and then feel more purposeful. It was you that I was waiting for, and I still was coaching during that time, but especially after we started working together, I kn that's why I had to wait because I needed a partner and I needed a really direct sounding board for what I'm doing because what we're doing now, that wasn't fully formed at all in my head until we worked together, and then you really just kind of pushed back on some things and said, "Well, you know, w here's where I see you." And that really helped. And then even with our even with our branding too, I was like, "No, I think I want it this way." And you said, "Look at it again. Look at it again." And now I love what's going on right now with our branding.
I can't wait to talk about the visual branding. There's so many things I would love to continue to talk to like, okay, so let's save on the visual branding because I want to talk a little bit like once we got the clarity and how we got to the certain icons. But your visual branding, I swear, is like one of my favorite things that my team has produced. So I'm just curious about something like why in the age of AI, like so many people like Chat GPT their way try to Chat GPT their way through brand messaging and clarity and stuff like that. Why was that type of thing not sufficient, and why did you wait for like, why did you why like, I am curious why you waited for me, versus, you coulda gone to another branding agency, you could have DIY'd your way with ChatGPT, why did you wait? I'm sure you've done ideal client or I know you have Amy Porterfield's class, like, I'm sure you did the ideal client avatar exercises that she had, why did you wait for me?
I think it was well, I saw some of your podcasts, of course. I think for who I did look at, you were definitely the most qualified to talk to me about branding. I felt that. I've never had to think about this before, but, there's some times where you're just like, "That's gonna be that's the person that I wanna work with." Um, and I definitely I remember thinking you went on sabbatical, and I thought, "I really hope she's coming back." What am I gonna do? Because I didn't want to search again. Yeah, and I can't remember what the first contact I had with you, meaning me seeing you, and I think it might have been an email or something that I was searching for, I don't know, and I wish I did, so I could tell you, but y I think it's, really just intuition.
So why didn't you chat GPT your way through it? A lot of people are thinking, when it comes to brand messaging and clarity, it's like, I don't need to hire somebody like Betsy. I could just chat GPT my way through it. Why is that not a good answer from your perspective?
Well, I first of all, I'm into AI, I love it, I do consult it, I ask it to prompt me to give me some ideas of what to write, that type of things, but I don't I don't I think that that's part of a patchwork. So I know that a lot of people say, "Well, I'll get somebody maybe in Fiverr and they'll do a logo and then the messaging and maybe I'll get a copyright person." And I mean, I've been through all of that as well a while ago and I watched my clients. I watched my clients try to patchwork to try to save money and time. I think patchwork it together and eventually either they get a program that actually works. So much lost money and time doing that. Um, so you kn it's the linear path for the entire branding and setting up and launching. And that I don't know where I would see that anywhere else specifically for coaching and consulting. I I know of some folks, and I've dabbled with them, and see, that's what it was. You dabble here, you dabble there, and you trying to put it all together. And this is something that I did for other people, but for yourself, you kind of need a partner to just go alongside that really is in your corner and will help you get the best result.
I love that you said that because that is something that I think I've been evolving into, and this thing I think when I made this shift, like, I got rid of my fictitious names, and I just decided I'm Betsy Jordan International, like, that's, like, whatever my LLC is, and I just go by Betsy Jordan. But I think it gave me the flexibility to really be paying attention to what my clients actually needed and not be so stuck. So I could have said, like I could have come up with another one because I did know, like, back in 2000, I think, like 19, is when I was like, I'm not really training consultants and coaches on like my OD best practices. I'm really leaning into the brand messaging. Like that's my sweet spot. Everybody wants this from me. Like no matter what I offer, like even my impact and income accelerator, like anybody who signs up, even the people who signed up for that, they still wanted my brand messaging. Like it still goes back down to that. So it's like I did know that that's like the bread and butter. But what I started to notice is I'd go through all the effort with the brand messaging, and then they go to somebody else to help with, like, the visual branding, and then somebody else has, like, some one of those surface level, like, ideal client thing and, messaging and, like, and then the whole thing falls apart, and it's like, "Okay, now we're done." So, like, all that work led to nothing, or we did the same thing where they went and tried to work on their copy, and all that went to nothing, and it's like, "Oh, I need to, like, take them all the way through to the business foundation so it's consistent, but my container allowed that, and I think that that was a lot of the perspective that I think maybe subconsciously I did that you wanna do for your
Mhm.
clients.
Absolutely.
So, I think that there could have been a resonance of, like, I'm doing something for my clients that you wanna do for yours because you wanna be that person who really guides these women, not just and I think this is where, like, let's get into the process of how you got to the clarity, but I think the shift is it's you wanted to work with coaches, and then we narrowed it down to women coaches, and then there was a little bit more, like, women coaches who were in the subcontracting trap and helping them move into this other place. Like, how did you get to more of that refined clarity for yourself? Like, what was it about the process that helped you like, I wanna do this is who my ideal client is?
First, what you did with me and what I'm doing, too, is to figure out who I am, bring out in me what are the expertise, the wisdom, the skills, what do we have here? Because we never a lot of people don't acknowledge to themselves what they do great or what their gifts are, but they'll think about everything that they don't have going on, right? So that was a great exercise. So we dug into, well, who am I? What do I really want? What is the purpose that I want to bring to all of this, and start there and then match up, well, yeah, it's coaches. It's women coaches. And that was all from the exercises that we went through, the writing we went through to figure that all out. And that was so eye-opening and helpful. I didn't even expect that that's where we were going to start, but it was the perfect place because then it was a foundation for everything else we were going to do.
I think that I think that what I love about the process too is like there was a couple other things that you'd identified. It's like they're not just women coaches, business owners, they're stuck in the subcontractor trap, but you also identified some of their
Mhm.
attributes. Like they are like
Yeah.
achievement oriented. They're not just somebody who is like, I just care about my clients and they're not willing to do something. It's like they're achievement
Mhm.
oriented. They want to go forward and build something of their own, but they just hate
Right.
marketing. And it's like solving some of the marketing and mindset challenges, which is a little different than like not exactly what I do, but still kind of like in that vein of like there's a bigger problem, like their mindset
Mhm.
of what it is. And so I think that that really created, a certain level of differentiation. And then I saw like you had this compassion for them, like, okay, let's move. Like I want them to have a business that's thriving, that's their own, that helps them be, the person that they want to be, not just the business owner. And I think once you saw that, like, okay, now I'm moving. Like it solved your mojo problem. Like, and why do you think like getting clarity on this person would solve a mojo problem? 'Cause you were still coaching, like, a lot of people think like, "Oh, I love coaching," like so it's like switching it from a real estate person to this person, how did that really start to solve the mojo problem?
It was when we came to the point where it's because at the beginning, we said solopreneurs, and you said that's a big why, right? So, what meaning, why would you want to? And that wasn't very clear. And then you said, who comes to you? And it was coaches, and then it just was internal, just like, that's it. Like, that's who I have coaches, and I look forward to those calls, and so and I know what what they're struggling with. I know I've been there. I've been there. I have overcome. I have made all the mistakes. I have made the patchwork mistake. I've done all those things, and now I know what works for, as being a coach. And there's so many people that these high achieving women that have been in corporate or they've been the subcontract coaches or they've never really gotten their coaching business off the ground, but they really have something to give. And so I mean, that's just like opening the door for somebody to get them what they want in their life and have a really meaningful occupation in the end.
You're tapping into, like, a really big secret, I think, to identifying your ideal client, specifically for coaches, even if you're working in an organization or as a specific especially if you're working with private clients, and that is your ideal client is usually a younger version of you. Like, we could spend all day long like, I know a lot of coaches think, like, "I could help anybody who needs a coach." And it's like, "Yeah, but not everybody who needs a coach needs you." Like, they need somebody who's more specific, and I think that that's where, like, our passion like, we're sparked to compassion and action is usually because that person is mirroring something in our
Mhm.
story. And I think that that's where it's like it's there's one thing to see it, another thing to trust it, and I wonder if that's just the role that I was playing is like, "Oh, no, no, that makes sense." Like, that's different, like, was it that because you might have seen it before, but was it, like, help like, the conversation of having somebody outside of you, like, hold up the mirror and say, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense," and now I trust it.
Yes, and if I'm really honest about it, I thought, "Well, can I do that?" It's and I know all the things, right? But I still have that thing like, "Really? Me? Should I is that what I should be doing?" Is that for me? Excitingly, but, also I'm hesitating on it because I'm changing my whole business. Um, so that was part of getting through it and knowing that, yes, absolutely, um, that I am the one to help women that have already been through a career, probably their 2nd or 3rd career, they want to go into coaching, and they hate the idea of putting themselves out there. Because when I think a lot of times coaching is so attractive because, "Oh, I can be behind the scenes helping people," but that's not the world we live in anymore, and so we might as well be loud and proud. And so the and I struggle with that. I mean, even this podcast, you had said you asked me a week ago or so, and you said, "Would you wanna do this?" And I said, "Yes." But inside I thought, "Oh, no." And so I thought, well, this is part of it, right? To get out there. And I'm glad I did. But that's the part that coaches, a lot of them have that heart where it's like, no, it's okay. I'll be over here and you do all the big things, but that's part of it. And so helping people to create authentic to them marketing, authentic social media platforms if that's what they choose. So looking at what their personality is, what they see, and helping them y- be very specific and very customized for what they can do and want to do. So that's the idea.
But the reality is, this is the hard thing when it comes to consultants and coaches who are the personal brand. I don't think it's just like we hate marketing. I think we hate the visibility that marketing requires of us. So in no other profession outside of ours, not even like therapists, like they could hide behind like somebody needs to go to someone for anxiety. Like there's like a technical need, like we're optional and it's all connected to us, and in order for us to get clients, like, we have to show up in a visibility standpoint, and we have to be seen, and then, by the way, we have to, like, figure out how to do all of these things in front of an audience, like, it's super vulnerable, and what I feel like is the antidote to this, and I think this is what we worked on, so tell me I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but I think what the antidote where we're questioning it, is when your vision for who you wanna help gets bigger, the fear gets smaller. Because it's like, well, I gotta do something in order to reach them because I really wanna find them, and I wanna make it easy for them to find me. So if I'm gonna be all hiding, they're never gonna find me. So it's making that vision bigger. And I think that's why like we haven't even gotten to the other parts of the brand messaging. We're just still talking about like how you got clarity in your ideal client. but we haven't even got to, like, what you do, how you're different, but I don't even know if that's as important as, like, this is who I wanna help, and I could figure out the rest.
Absolutely. And when you get to the point, and the things that we've been working on, and then you really know this is it. This is what I'm made for. Like this is what then it's easier to put yourself out there because you have people to help to get them on their track, right? So that it really does take the the focus off of myself and knowing that I am the one that can help because there's a lot of people out there that call themselves coaches and all of the things. When you have a purpose and you know exactly who you want to serve, it changes how you feel about the marketing.
And we worked on your title. I wonder if you have it off the top of your mind of what your title is and how you came up with your title.
Title in
Like, what kind of, like, we think it was like it wasn't just
oh
a business
my
coach. I
my
think
title.
we got
Okay, yes. Um,
oh, yeah.
uh, business development strategist.
So why was the word strategist important to you, and how did that showcase a differentiation for you in comparison to other business coaches?
To me, strategy is um, looking at what's the challenge, who are we working with, and designing a plans especially for them. So a strategist isn't just a program that, is recorded and everybody goes through it. To me, that's not a strategy. I mean, there would be strategies within, but that's how I look at strategists as strategy, that I'm looking at what do you want to accomplish? What type of coach do you want to be? What is your messaging going to be? What is your marketing going to be? How are we going to get you out there? And every single person that I ask that will have a different strategy. That's how I see it.
So you're going more
Oh,
personalized.
yeah.
Like, I think that that is an interesting differentiator in today's
Mhm,
market too, is if we're in a world of, like, lots of people were buying everybody was going to the one to many,
mhm,
the courses and the programs. Now we have AI. And I think that is a really key way that consultants and coaches can stand out is when everybody's going this way, like I'm going this
mhm.
way. Like you're all doing group coaching programs, like I'm doing I'm focusing on the one-on-one personalized bespoke kind of thing, and it sounds like you're kind of on that same
Mm,
standpoint, and I think personally you could probably give those women coaches better results than if they just signed up for a
yeah.
program. Like, they can sign up for really great
Mhm,
programs, like, Marie Forleo's B School is a great
mhm.
program, but it's not personalized to her unique situation, and I think that's where you can provide something very
Very
different.
yes,
It's like you can listen into what you want for your career, what you want in your life, how do you tailor it, what marketing strategies will make you wanna die and you won't wanna do them, and which ones, like, I could try them out,
yeah.
and you could help them with that.
Yes, yes, absolutely, and, I I've seen all the types of, right, marketing, and I know it's not going to be, for everybody, so that is exactly what I wanna do is help them through that part so that they can have the business that they want.
So you've gotten past the point where now you've got made it through the foundational brand messaging. So you got clarity on who you help, what you do, how you're different, the unique value that your clients get from working with you. How does getting to that level of clarity and that foundational messaging help you with the other stuff? So we're working now on your visual branding, which I definitely want you to speak to about what are the elements and how that gave you clarity. And then you're also working on your website copy. So you're not 100% done. You're in process, but how does this help you from where you are now, where you might have been stuck before?
For me, when I find have branding, this is the first time, by the way, it's been this good, but when have branding that I can be excited about, that represents who I really am, just the visuals branding, right? So it means something to me. That was a thing that we talked about a little bit, as well, is like, what would the logo be and why would that mean anything for you? And we really hit it on the nail.
Let's back up because I wanna be more specific because I can't wait for your visual branding to come out, so I'm selfish on this one because I love this one so much. So we got clarity on around, like, these women, they're beautiful, they're thriving as women business owners. Like, how did that give you direction to what you wound up with your icon, which was a dragonfly? And then we got more refinement with the dragonfly with a bunch of mosaics in the wings. Like, how did you go from like, how did the brand messaging help you get clarity even on that as your icon? And what does that icon represent to you?
So, I've always loved dragonflies. I like them in art, I like them flying around my yard. I've always I just there seem to be a little magical. And so, you asked me, like, what would be something well, I like poppies, like the a one poppy, and we talked about that a little bit, and we talked about, the Santa Fe artist, Georgia O'Keeffe.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
you said, I don't see that." And so that was the first thing that came up for me, and you said, I don't know about the poppy, but let's what else? What else?" And so I said, "Well, I love dragonflies, but I don't know how I could incorporate that." And so we looked it up when we were on a Zoom, and we searched, "What does dragonfly mean?" And dragonflies, they mean transformation. They mean the reason why is because they're born in the water, and then they get their wings and they fly. And they go through a huge transformation in their life cycle. And, they also I know that, some Native American groups look at them as if they are, spirits from past ones. And these it just was a very rich it signified for different people, very rich, but I loved the idea of the transformation and that you're in water and you have to struggle and then you become that dragonfly and fly. And so that meant a lot to me, so we started with that. And then we went into dragonfly world and looking at what would it be? What would it look like? And then, um, I liked one of the designs. Actually, I kind of did a little bit more on my own, and then you said, "But look at this." I think it was B or something. "You look at B, I love B." And I said, "Well, I don't know that I want it to be so girly." And then but then we looked at it again and then you put some more colors in it, and it. It was so beautiful, and one of the things that I have the freedom of is I'm working with women, and I can be all the girly I want to, and I've always kinda
Mhm.
hesitated because I had a lot of male, clients. I've been well, that's what I was used to, women and men, and I didn't want the men to feel like, they're not in the right place, but my place is different now. And so I that it just gelled the whole thing, and then it got better and better and better as your people, worked on it, and I just had a peek at some of the resources that are gonna be branded, this morning, and I was like, "This is so good." So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
And the color palette is bang on, and I think that there's something about, like, kinda going with, intuition too.
Mhm,
It's like my belief around your business is the right like, the reason why you hit the like, you've lost the
mhm,
mojo is that that business is no longer in alignment with your strengths, your experiences, your passion, like, you've outgrown that one. That's the same reason, and I think the expectation that we're not gonna lose our mojo at different phases is unrealistic because that was always a sign when you were in
mhm.
business, like, "Okay, it's time for a promotion or a new job." Like, you can't keep doing the same thing every
Yeah,
year. You gotta push yourself. And I think that, but the secret is that you wanna be able to align it. And I think when we were doing solopreneur, it was like, it's too vague,
mhm,
like it's not really connecting and it's not in alignment with your passion. It's not in alignment with your
mhm.
story, like, and your story goes deeper. We're not gonna get into that on this
Yeah,
call, but it's like how important economic empowerment
right.
is for women,
Yes.
and it's like, but when you align it, everything makes sense,
Mhm,
And so even if you have like a long-term passion with a dragonfly, like, well, that makes
mhm,
sense. And I love that, like, I have the butterfly. The butterfly has a very different transformation story, which fits a little bit more like with more my passion is around like their transform I like the dragonfly's transformation story. I wish mine was more like the dragonfly where I was just in water and all of a sudden I grew wings instead of being in a cocoon where you like die to yourself, you know. I like I like that one better, but oh well. Um but I think that it still goes back to the alignment piece, and I think when you're in alignment, you choose marketing things that don't suck, that you actually could
mhm.
enjoy, like I'm doing marketing right now, but am I? Like, I'm having a conversation with somebody I really enjoy talking to,
Right.
like, that's the
Yeah.
difference, and when you start really growing this business, I think that's gonna be the same. I think there's another benefit too when we talk through your products and services around having like people of other things that you wanna do. So it's like you wanna do the one-on-one coaching, but this business model is giving you flexibility for the other pieces of your business that you wanna create. Can you speak to a little bit more to some of the other ways that you wanna serve your clients to leverage more of your training skills?
Yes. So, in my when I was a coach for real estate agents, I would have a annual, retreat, and they were, we just it was very good. It was what people kind of waited for, right? They would ask me like, I tell me because I have to put it on my calendar, right? So I enjoyed doing them because it did bring back my training. It was a workshop kind of, and I facilitated it. But I would like to continue to do those things, but also I want to, and I will be doing very small retreats and including well-being in your business, well-being in your soul, well-being in your just your physical well-being, right? So, and because I think especially the clients that are the clients that are my ideal clients, they are they call it the sandwich era of life. So you may have grown children who are now giving you grandchildren, which is great, and your parents may be elderly and need help, and you come it feels like you become a resource for everybody else, right? So really putting the focus on how you are doing because without you, everybody is going to it's going to be worse. So and I think we're just used to, I think the younger generation is onto it, I hope so, that we have to put ourselves first to to help the family, to help, for your business, etcetera. So, that just digging in and just really, what they want in their life, what they want to accomplish, how they wanna show up as mom, wife, grandma, whatever, um, and making sure that they have time for themselves, time to enjoy, not just to sleep because that's the usual. Just wanna sleep.
I feel like what I'm like in as I'm hearing into what you're talking about, like when I think about all of the different things that you offer, is that you provide like holistic strategy to financial and life
Mhm.
abundance. Like it's not about like even success or thriving, but you want to get people like with well springs of
Yes.
abundance, in their energy and their in like this wellspring. Like that's kind of like the image, which kind of makes sense like a wellspring with the water, and the
Yeah.
dragonfly, but I think that could be language that you can play around with
Yes.
too, is like, it's like, you don't want just a business that's profitable, you don't want just a business and a life that you love, you don't want just a business that is
Mhm.
successful over the long term, you want a business that delivers your total life abundance from the inside out, like, with your energy, your time, your
Yes.
everything, so that you could be whatever you need to be to whoever you need to be in your life.
Yes.
Like, that's the unique value of working with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rest and renewal.
Thankfully, this is recording while you're still working on your website copy, so, we could play around with
Yes.
that. So so speaking of your website that is still under construction, how can people connect with you? So if you're a woman coach or if you're a woman coach who's in coaching as your second or third career, you're stuck in the subcontractor trap and you want more of a holistic support from somebody who gets the business side and the personal
Mhm.
side, you need to talk to Pamela and you could reach out to Pamela where?
PamelaJohnsonCoaching.com. And, just click on have a discovery call, and we'll have a complimentary call and see if we're, fit to maybe work together even in the future now. But yeah, that's where we're gonna start is just having a conversation.
So and if you're listening now in November of 2025, the website will not be the updated version. If they're coming and you're listening to this episode in 2020, early, after Q1 of 2026, the website will be updated with the dragonfly. So don't go over there looking for the
That's right.
dragonfly. You're not going to find it.
Not yet.
Um, and also on LinkedIn, can people get a hold of you on LinkedIn?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn as well.
And so I'm sure there's 1,000 Pamela
There's
Johnsons. You wanna
1,000
give us
Pamela Johnson.
I guess I'll put it in the show notes,
Okay.
but is there, like,
Yes.
but is there is there anything with your name that would, like, make you stand out? At least with Betsy Jordan, I'm the only one.
I
Except for the Betsy Jordan with the A, that's
I
another
think
one,
I'm,
but in general.
Pamela D. Johnson in, LinkedIn.
So, is there anything else that you want to tell me about how you got your business mojo back and or what it meant to you to work through your brand positioning, building this business that you love, about your coaching practice and what you're excited about building, anything about being clear and confident, like anything that relates to this whole topic and I'm just not asking you the right question. Or experience worth working with me and I didn't ask you the right question.
I knew you were gonna ask me this.
Oh, because I do it at
Yes.
the end of all my podcasts.
I do.
That's my famous wrap up. I don't have the fun one, like, if you were going to be, going to the pearly gates, what would you say, or what's your
Yeah.
favorite swear word? I could have done something like that, but this is my signature.
The thing that comes to me, is that everybody has a story. I don't know if it I used to watch Good Morning America, not Good Morning America, excuse me, CBS Sunday Morning, CBS, and there was a piece in there, and it was everybody has a story, and I'll get to the point. Um, so this gentleman, his last name is Hart, Ahart, and he would go and to the map of the United States and throw a dart, and wherever that dart landed, he would go to that town, go to this is how long ago, to a phone book and would just do this to the phone book and put his finger down, and he would call that person, and he would say, "I'm with CBS, and I wanna do your story," and every single person said, "You don't wanna do a story about me, there's nothing special about me, I'm boring. You should probably have somebody else do it," and he usually gets them to agree, and every single time they'll start with, "I don't know why you're here in my living room because I really don't have a story." And then something will finally reveal itself in their conversation. For instance, one was that this older couple over the years had fostered over 40 children, and all the pictures were on the wall. And so everybody has a story. And so I've always kept that idea that and even ourselves, right? We have a story that's worth telling. We have a story that's worth growing in your business, in your life. And people like you and people like me can help you pull out that story for who you really are and what's so extraordinary about you. And so that's what comes to my mind that I would love to keep getting that message out that every person has a story.
Oh, that's beautiful. That was a perfect way to end this episode because I think that that is maybe the hack of the successful business, getting your mojo back, whatever that is like really just appreciate, own your story, and that there's meaning in that story. And that paying your story forward is how you're going to actually make the impact that you really want to make as a consultant or coach. Like, honestly, that's like the secret. Well, I could talk to you forever because that's how our sessions go. Um, so I can't wait for the rest of your business to come to life. So, we'll all have to stay tuned. For those who are listening, if you want to work on your brand messaging and positioning or need the one-stop shop like Pamela was talking about, I'd love to work with you. Head on over to my website at www.betsyjordan.com/services. Or better yet, you can just hit that big pink button at the top of my website and you can book a call with me and we can talk about more about a custom solution for you because I'm all about customization, just like Pamela and I were discussing. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you're listening if you want to continue to get actual inspiration on growing a high impact, high profit business. And I guess that's it. Until next time, thanks so much for listening.